There are more productivity systems in circulation right now than at any point in human history, and people report feeling busier, more scattered, and further behind than ever. That is not a coincidence. It is a diagnosis problem. Almost nobody fails because they pick the lazy system. They fail because they pick the system built to solve a problem they do not actually have. So here is every productivity method that matters, explained end to end. The 5-minute fixes, the scheduling systems, the full operating systems that people build their entire working lives around. For each one, what it actually is, who it works for, and the exact way it breaks. Because every method here has a failure mode, and the failure mode is never mentioned by the people recommending it. And one of these methods is quietly sabotaging the work of the people who need it most. It is also the single most recommended method on the internet. Watch for it. The Pomodoro Technique. 25 minutes of focused work, 5 minutes of rest. Repeat, and after 4 rounds, take a longer break. The timer is the whole mechanism. You are not promising to work well. You are only promising to work until the bell. It is unbeatable for one specific problem: starting. If the task feels heavy and you keep drifting away from it, a 25-minute commitment is small enough to say yes to. Here is the catch, and this is the method that was flagged earlier. Deep creative work takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes to warm into. Pomodoro rings the bell right as you arrive. For writers, engineers, designers, and anyone doing hard cognitive work, the timer that rescues procrastinators becomes the thing that severs flow every single hour. Flowtime. Flowtime is the correction. You still track your sessions, but you do not set the length in advance. You start a timer, work until your attention genuinely fades, then log how long you lasted and rest proportionally. It keeps the accountability of Pomodoro and drops the interruption. It also produces data. After 2 weeks, you know your real attention span, which is almost never 25 minutes. The catch is that it requires honesty. Without a bell, the person who wanted to quit at minute 9 will quit at minute 9 and call it a fading attention span. Pomodoro protects you from yourself. Flowtime assumes you do not need protecting. Time blocking. Instead of a task list, you assign every task a specific slot in your calendar. 9 to 11 is the report. 11 to 11:30 is email. The day is spent before it begins. This kills the most expensive tax in knowledge work, which is deciding what to do next over and over. It also exposes the lie of the long list, because a calendar cannot hold 12 hours of work in an 8-hour day. The catch is fragility. One emergency and the entire structure collapses, and most people abandon the system rather than rebuild the afternoon.
Timeboxing. Timeboxing looks identical, but adds a hard edge. The block is not just when you work on something, it is all the time that thing gets. When the box closes, the task ships in whatever state it is. That constraint is the point. It forces decisions, kills perfectionism, and stops one task from eating an entire week. The catch is obvious. Apply to work where quality genuinely matters more than speed. Timeboxing manufactures mediocrity on a schedule. Eat the frog. Do your hardest, most avoided task first, before email, before messages, before anything. Everything after it feels downhill. It works because willpower and cognitive sharpness are highest early, and because dread is cumulative. A task you postpone at 9 in the morning costs you attention all day, even while you are not doing it. The catch is chronotype. A meaningful share of people do not reach peak cognitive capacity until late morning or evening, and forcing the frog at 6 will just produce a badly done frog. The Ivy Lee method. At the end of each day, write down 6 tasks for tomorrow, in priority order. Tomorrow, do them in that order. Do not touch task 2 until task 1 is finished. Anything unfinished rolls to the top of the next list. It is over a century old, and it still beats most software. The genius is the 2 constraints, a hard cap on quantity and a ban on parallel work. The catch is that it assumes your day is yours. In reactive roles full of meetings and interruptions, you will end most days on task 2. The Eisenhower Matrix. Sort every task into 4 boxes on 2 axes, urgent and important. Important and urgent, do now. Important and not urgent, schedule. Urgent and not important, delegate. Neither, delete. The real value is the 4th box and the word delete. Most people have never given themselves permission to simply not do something. The catch is that it is a sorting tool, not a doing tool. It tells you what deserves your time and then quietly hands the problem back to you. The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately instead of writing it down. The overhead of capturing, storing, reviewing, and rescheduling a tiny task costs more than the task. It is the cheapest method here, and it clears the low-grade static that makes people feel behind. The catch is that 2-minute tasks are infinitely available. Run this rule during your deep work hours, and you will spend an entire morning being efficient at nothing that mattered. It belongs in the gaps of your day, never in the center of it. Getting things done. The most complete system on this list.
Everything on your mind goes into an external inbox. You process each item by asking whether it is actionable, then sort it into projects, next actions, waiting on, someday, or reference. You review the whole structure weekly. The premise is that your mind is for having ideas, not holding them, and the relief of a truly empty head is real. The catch is weight. The system has maintenance costs, and the weekly review is the load-bearing wall. Skip it twice, and the whole structure becomes a graveyard of dead commitments.
Personal Kanban. 3 columns. To do, doing, done. Every task is a card that moves left to right. The only rule that matters is a work in progress limit, usually 2 or 3 cards in the doing column at once. That limit is the entire method. Multitasking does not divide your capacity, it multiplies your switching costs, and a hard cap makes that impossible. The catch is that Kanban shows you flow, not priority. A board full of moving cards feels productive, whether or not the right cards are moving. Bullet journaling. A single analog notebook with a rapid shorthand for tasks, events, and notes, plus an index and a monthly migration where you rewrite unfinished tasks by hand. The migration is the mechanism. Rewriting a task for the 4th time is friction, and friction forces you to admit you are never going to do it. The catch is the aesthetic trap. The system was designed to be fast and ugly. Half the people who adopt it end up spending their productive hours decorating a record of the work instead of doing it. The second brain, an external knowledge system. Capture what you encounter, organize it by how actionable it is, distill it down on each revisit, and express it into actual output. For anyone whose work is built on accumulated ideas, this compounds in a way nothing else here does. The catch is that collecting feels like progress and is not. A vault of 10,000 saved articles that never produced a single finished thing is not a second brain. It is a landfill with search. Task batching. Group similar work and run it in dedicated blocks. All calls in one window, all email twice a day, all admin on one afternoon. Switching between different kinds of work carries a recovery cost each time. Batching pays that cost once instead of 40 times. The catch is responsiveness. Batching quietly transfers the delay on everyone waiting for you, and in some roles, that is not a cost you are allowed to spend. The junior person who checks messages twice a day is not focused, they are unreachable. Deep work. Deliberately scheduled, distraction-free stretches of cognitively demanding work, protected as seriously as a meeting with your most important client. Phone in another room, notifications off, nothing in the session but the hard thing. This is less a technique than a stance, that the ability to concentrate without interruption is becoming rare and therefore valuable. The catch is that it demands a life that can absorb it. Told to a parent of small children or someone in a role built on availability, 4 uninterrupted hours is not advice, it is a fantasy. Do not break the chain. Mark a calendar every day you do the work. The growing streak becomes the motivation, and the fear of breaking it carries you through the days you do not feel like it. It is the strongest method here for building a habit from nothing, because it rewards showing up rather than performing well. The catch is brittleness. One missed day and the reward mechanism does not just pause, it collapses, and people who miss 2 days usually quit entirely.
The constraint laws. 2 principles rather than systems. Work expands to fill the time available, so shortening the deadline shortens the work. And a small fraction of your effort produces most of your results, so the highest leverage move is usually subtraction, not addition. The catch is that both are descriptions, not instructions. Knowing that 20% of your work matters does not tell you which 20%, and everyone thinks their own busy work is the rare exception that genuinely has to happen. The part nobody tells you. Every method here works. That is the uncomfortable part. There is no winner, and the search for one is itself a form of procrastination. What varies is the problem each was built for. Pomodoro and streaks solve starting. Time blocking and Ivy Lee solve deciding. Kanban and batching solve switching. Eisenhower and the constraint laws solve choosing. GTD and the second brain solve remembering. Deep work solves protecting. So stop asking which system is best and ask what actually broke today. If you knew what to do and did not start, you have a starting problem, and no amount of matrix sorting will fix it. If you worked all day and finished nothing that mattered, you have a choosing problem, and a better timer will only help you fail faster. And if you have tried 6 systems in a year and abandoned all of them, that is information too. It usually means the systems were never the problem, and something underneath them, the workload, the role, or the rest is. Diagnose first. The method is the easy part.
If diagnosing your own week sounds simple and turns out not to be, that gap is exactly what the Productivity Blueprint was built to close. It is a small operating system for people already working a full job. 10 short products that walk you through auditing your real focus hours, mapping the meeting and phone drag eating them, and rebuilding the week around what actually matters. Anchor blocks, weekly sprints, habit cues, restart rules, a Sunday reset, a 90-day planner. The full stack is at thefocusvault.com for $47 right now. Diagnose first, then hand yourself the system that fits the diagnosis.